Good afternoon from the farmer's garden. I'm one of the farmers and I'm out at the hen house right now. So we asked on Facebook if we had anybody that wanted us to do some quick videos on getting started raising chickens. And it looks like that is something that people are interested in. So I'm going to see what I can do. Some things that I will cover will feel very basic to you, very common knowledge to many of you who already have chickens or who grew up around animals. But you would be surprised at the things people don't know. So I'm going to probably break down some of it too much, and some of it I may skip over. And if I skip over it, just drop us a comment and let us know, and I'll come back and try to cover whatever it is that you're wondering about. So I'm going to start by going over some different terms that people use around chickens and what those terms mean and why they're important. All right, so I'm going to start with our pullets. So pullets are, hey, don't peck my leg. That's unnecessary. Pullets are ornery, apparently. All right, so pullets are these girls that are mature enough to, they're not really considered chicks anymore. You think of a chick being a little tiny fluffy one. These are matured past that, but they're not laying just yet. I picked up 4 eggs out of here today. So we're getting 4 eggs. There's at least 4 of them old enough to lay. Hey, stop. There's at least 4 of them old enough to lay, and the others will start to lay soon. But pullets are hens, female birds, that are not laying just yet. And this one is just gonna peck the pants off of me. What is up, girl? All right. So, let me see if I can turn this around and show you something else. All right, these are our pullets. Some of them are beginning to lay. I told you I just picked up 4 eggs in here. When they reach sexual maturity or age to be able to lay, they will begin to, they would be receptive to a rooster. I'm not going to be able to get any of them to do it right now. But what they'll do is they'll kind of squat down and sort of stomp their feet, and that says, hey rooster, I'm here, I'm available. But these are the pullets. Pullet just means a female bird that is not quite old enough to lay. The other side of that would be hens, obviously. Hens are what we most often think of for laying eggs. These are our girls from last spring. Yes, last spring, from spring of 21, yes. All right, so these would be laying hens. Laying hens are any female bird that is used for egg production. Now, a few of our birds are different breeds. So we have a lot of these red stars. We really, really love the red stars. They lay when it's hot, they lay when it's cold, they lay good eggs. So we really love those. But we also have some mixed breeds, or not mixed breeds, but different breeds mixed in. So this black one in the back right here is an Australorp. An Australorp is a dual purpose breed. So a dual purpose breed is used for both meat and eggs. So she's a good layer, but she's also got a bigger body, and you could butcher her for meat. The red stars, obviously you can do that, but you get smaller eggs from them. Or not smaller eggs, smaller cuts of meat. They have a smaller body. All right, so that's pullets, hens, we have egg layers, we have dual purpose. The next term I'm going to cover is broody. This is our girl Trudy. Broody Trudy. This girl likes to set eggs. They generally do not get broody their first year, so we raised her in 2021. She was a February chick. We raised her, and this is her first summer that she is trying to be broody. And she has actually been sitting on these eggs. They're about halfway to hatch at this point, and you can see she guards them. Now she is docile. She might not with the camera here. She might be nervous about that. But normally she will let me reach in and check her eggs and see. So this one does not have a mark on it. This is one that one of the other hens laid today. So we'll gather that this evening, but we'll let her keep it for now. But we've been marking her eggs And Miss Broody Trudy is keeping those for us. So a broody hen is simply a hen that is trying to set eggs. All right, and then obviously we have roosters. Roosters are just male chickens. They're pretty self-explanatory. You do not have to have a rooster if all you want is eggs. We actually do not keep a rooster with the hens for eggs that we sell. The eggs in here, we are either hatching or eating ourselves. We are not selling these. Now, when you crack a fertile egg, the only difference is a small white bullseye on an egg. If it was laid today, gathered tonight, it would have a small white bullseye on it. Now, if I was to crack her eggs that she's been sitting on, obviously there would be a chick in there. That would be disturbing. But for the most part, eggs that are gathered daily, you're not going to be able to notice anything in them when you crack them. But you don't have to have a rooster for your chickens to lay. An egg is simply the chicken's ovulation cycle. And so in nature, wild chickens did not originally lay 1 egg a day, but we have selectively bred them for egg production. We keep the birds that lay better and better, and those are the ones that we breed. And that is how we have chickens that ovulate or lay an egg roughly every 25 to 26 hours. Another term that we use is bloom. Bloom refers to the coating. The final step of the egg laying process is for them to be coated with the bloom, and that's basically a cuticle, a film that goes around the egg and helps protect it from bacteria entering the pores in the eggshell. I have been seeing some people doing videos lately, and they're like, oh, look at this egg. I've never seen so much bloom on an egg before. And unfortunately, many of those videos that I'm seeing, it's the opposite of bloom. And I wish I had kept one, because with our moving chickens around yesterday, we disturbed them enough, threw off their cycles enough, that I actually had 4 eggs today that did not have bloom. We don't eat those. Those open pores allow bacteria to move into the shells relatively quickly. So I always crack those and give them back to the chickens, and they enjoy the calcium from the shells and the protein from the yolk. So what that looks like, this one actually has bloom. It's just speckled. This is off of a young hen, and so it's just not, it's not perfect bloom on there yet. But what it looks like a lot of times when they don't have the bloom, it looks very dry and chalky. And like I say, I've seen some videos where they're like, oh my goodness, look how much bloom is on there. No, if it's looking dry and chalky, that did not get the bloom. For whatever reason, the hen went ahead and laid it without that bloom. And you don't want to eat those because they allow the bacteria to move in there. The eggs should look shiny. I mean, it's even the dirty ones, you can tell it's smooth, it's shiny. If it feels really dry to the touch, and the white ones are harder to tell if they don't have bloom, but if it feels really dry and chalky, it is missing the bloom, and the bloom is what protects the eggs. So that's another term that's important to know about. All right, so next I'm just going to go over a couple of terms relating to some of the supplies that you will need if you are raising chickens. So the first thing is feed. We use pelleted layer feed. This is roughly 16%. Yeah, this is a 16% feed. You can get 16, or I believe starter mix is 21% protein. And so this is what we use for our feed. You can also get these in crumbles, which is basically the same thing but crushed up. We prefer to use pellets over crumbles because pellets take just a little bit longer to digest, and so it kind of slows down your chickens. They don't just plow through it and then they want more. Chickens will boredom eat for sure, and so we like them to take a little longer to digest. Also, they don't tend to scratch as much of it out and waste it. So we use crumbles with our little ones, and then we switch them to pellets once they get bigger. Another thing that you will need is crushed oyster shell. So this is literally what it sounds like. These are oyster shells from the ocean that have been crushed all up. This is useful for a couple of reasons. First of all, oyster shells are high in calcium. That's what they are. They are calcium deposits, essentially. And so when your chickens eat this, it provides calcium for stronger eggshells, which is very important. I actually have problems right now with one of my nest boxes. The eggs are getting broken, and what I think is happening is a rat is coming in and eating them. But if it's not a rat, then the chickens are stomping on them and breaking them. And that means the shells aren't strong enough. So oyster shell helps with that. The pieces are also very useful in the chicken's gizzard. So what a gizzard does, because chickens don't have teeth, a gizzard has these small rocks, and then the chicken swallows the grain, the feed, and those rocks can grind against that feed and break it up enough for the chicken to digest it. Another feed supply you often hear people talking about with chickens is scratch or scratch grains. We do not feed very much scratch. We tend to feed scratch when we start to notice our egg yolks are getting a really light color. When our egg yolks look like store eggs, we start throwing scratch. But we try not to do that this time of year because scratch is actually slower to digest. Scratch looks like bird seed. I don't have any, so I can't show you, but it's basically bird seed. It usually does not have sunflowers in it, but it has the little bits of milo, it has the millet, it has all the little red grains that you see. And it's uncrushed, it's uncooked, it's just whole grains. And those take longer for the birds to digest. Because it takes longer for them to digest, it tends to raise their body temperature some. So scratch is super useful in the winter when you need to keep your birds warmer. But this time of year, while it's 100 million degrees, we don't want to do much scratch because we don't want them working longer to be able to digest. Scratch is also, I told you, it's good for them to have more color to the yolks. The egg yolks will actually take on some of the color of what the animals are eating. So for example, if you have hens that have been completely locked up, completely confined to a coop, they're going to scratch out all the grass. There's not going to be anything in there. If you suddenly turn them out on lush green grass, which would be hard to do in Texas right now, but if you were to do that and they attacked that green grass, you could potentially have green eggs. Like, that is how receptive the eggs are to color change. Now, they wouldn't be, or shouldn't be, super dark, but it is possible for them to go from a dry lot situation to lush green grass. It will change the egg color. So you can use scratch if your egg color starts to get really pale, if you start to get like almost white type eggs, not exactly white, but much lighter. Give them some scratch and that will help with that. But the other side of that is scratch slows down egg production. So if you're feeding too much scratch, you're not going to get enough eggs. What we like to do instead is to allow our hens lots of time to go out and forage and scratch for their own bugs and scratch for their own grains and scratch for their own grass. Chickens are omnivores, so they eat meat and vegetables. They will eat whatever they catch. They'll eat small mice if they catch them. They'll eat snakes if they catch them. They eat bugs. They eat plants. They eat fruit. The other thing we do is give them vegetable scraps out of the house. Chickens are great little disposal units for your vegetable scraps. Onion peels, watermelon rinds, peach. They won't eat the pit, but they'll pick everything off the pit. If you were to cook a ham and you have the ham bone left, you could throw that in there and they'll pick that clean. They're super good at cleaning up. Okay, that's all the real terms I can kind of think of right now. You also need, obviously, some equipment. You need waterers, which is exactly what it sounds like. You need feeders, again, exactly what it sounds like. You need nest boxes, which are some type of enclosure for the hens to lay in. I prefer actual nest boxes over, there's a lot of ideas using 5-gallon buckets or tote boxes, and I do have some of those right now, but I do just prefer a nest box. I think it keeps the eggs safer. We don't get as many broken that way. We don't lose as many to pests that way. So that's useful. But that's all I can think of right now. And we'll also do a video soon. We'll cover shelters, types of pens that you can keep your chickens in. I'm hoping to cover chick care once our incubator chicks hatch. We're going to go over breed selection, just different stuff that you need to know if you're thinking about having chickens. But that's what I got for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't get too long and rambly. Y'all be sure and like our YouTube channel, subscribe to our videos, and come back when you can stay longer.